Hello, and welcome to the Seeking Heaven, the Near-Death Experience and Other Phenomena. I'm your host, Tamara Caulder Richardson, a 6-time near-death experiencer, as well as a multiple spiritually transformative experiencer and evidential medium and channeler. Welcome to my channel. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, hit the bell so you don't miss any episodes. And so Thursdays, I do have an experiencer guest, and on Wednesday, I offer free spiritual shorts called Wisdom Wednesdays. So make sure that you check that out, as well as consider being a channel member. So thanks for being here. Now let's get into our guest. Our guest today, I'm very, very excited, is a near-death experiencer, as well as a multiple spiritually transformative experiencer that has experienced out-of-body, astral travel, UFOs, and as well as with his NDE, he has experienced the sacred fire of God and the presence of God, and I'm going to let him tell you about it. So today we have Tony Woody, and he is a retired naval flight engineer, and he is here to talk with us today. So let me bring him on. Welcome.
Hi, Tamara. Thanks for having me on today.
Absolutely. We were just having way too much fun on the pre-show because we have so many things in common, and you're such a delight, and I'm so excited to have you here. And there's so many things that that you could talk about, but I do want to start as the core, as far as yes, I want to hear about your spiritual journey, but I want to hear about this near-death experience, and I know our viewers do too, about how that happened and how it unfolded and where you are now with that.
Well, it happened, excuse me, when I was in the Navy back in 1982, I think it was. I was a flight engineer stationed at Barbers Point Naval Air Station. I started flying early at 19 years old. I started learning how to be a flight engineer on a 70-ton airplane. At 21 years old, I earned my wings, and I was signing for the plane, taking them out by myself as a flight engineer for shorter flights. But on longer flights, we'd take 2 engineers. So this is one of those days we were going to go out on a longer flight. And by then, I already had probably 3,500 hours of flight experience by the time this incident happened. So I'm 24 years old, I think, or 25. And we're going out to do a mission called one of the Rim Pack exercises, Rim of the Pacific. It's the largest military exercise in the world. It happens every 2 years. It's so big it takes 2 years to plan it out. And so if my crew's turn to go do our flight, we have a full load of fuel. We're maxed out, max allowable takeoff weight. And we take off, and we get to altitude of about 10,000 feet, and we have a malfunction on number 1 engine, and we have to shut it down and declare an emergency. Flight's over, go back to the base, and dump fuel, but we can't dump as much as we'd like. And you have only a certain amount you can get rid of. So to give you an idea of the difference in weight, when we landed, we typically land at the end of a mission with 8,000 pounds of fuel left. We can carry 62,000 pounds of fuel total. We still had 42,000 pounds of fuel on the airplane when we landed, not 8,000. So you got to fly a whole lot faster to stay in the air. And because we're declaring an emergency, they put fire trucks out on the side of the runway. You typically have 6 of them out there, two, and two. As you pass the first 2, they pull in behind you and chase you, and then those next two go behind them, and so on. So we declared the emergency. We dumped. We're on our way to land. When the main mounts came down, now we're coming in way faster than normal. Typically we'd land, 110 or 12 knots or something like that. Now we're doing 135 knots. It's 155 miles an hour. So at those speeds, things go wrong in a hurry when they go wrong. And main mounts came down, everything was okay. The nose gear came down, and we started swerving to the right. And due to pilot error, he didn't put in correct rudder. He put in the wrong rudder, which exacerbated the swerve. The next thing I know, we're departing the runway, and we're headed straight at one of the fire trucks on the side of the runway, and I know we're not going to miss it. And there's nothing I can do about it. And so the terror that happened in that few seconds is like nothing I'd ever experienced before. And so I didn't have what the typical near-death experience per se. I had a near-death-like experience
Sure.
because I had an out-of-body experience in the airplane, and that's what happened. As we were about to hit that fire truck, next thing I know, I'm out of the airplane, above it, looking down for probably 30 feet, 40 feet above. I can see everything. And the me in the seat can still, I see everything from my perspective there too. But the me in the seat is terrified, and the me outside is just observing and totally calm, just observing.
So you're by location. I've been there too, by location.
Yeah. And so that's when everything changed, right? I mean, there's nothing in the flight manual that explains what to do in the middle of an emergency landing running off the runway while you're having an out-of-body experience. There's just nothing in the book on that one. And so I'm trying to figure out what's going on. I'm totally confused. I start seeing this Pepsi can that flew by the window. Don't know where it came from. This is after we barely missed the fire truck, by the way. The number 4 propeller gapped the front edge of the fire truck as it went by. I could see the guy on the water cannon on top of the fire truck screaming and ducking. I saw all of that. And the propeller, just the width of a sheet of paper, misses the corner of that fire truck, as it goes by at 155 miles an hour, as the prop's spinning at 1,020 rounds a minute. So what are the odds of that, right? And so now we're departing the runway, and I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. I'm confused. I'm don't understand anything. I'm kind of along for the ride right now, just stunned. And I don't even know if I'm alive or not. I remember thinking I'm dead. I remember before we were going to hit the fire truck, I'm never going to see my son again. I had a 3-year-old son, and wife and son at the time, and yeah, you have a lot go through your mind when you'd be astonished how much goes through your mind.
Probably very quickly.
Couple of seconds. Huh?
Very quickly too, I imagine.
It's a flash, but it's all of it. And so we ended up going all the way across the asphalt between the 2 runways, and ended up half on, half off the other runway when we came to a lurching stop. And that's when I started experiencing this multiple locations, not just 2, when all of the debris and dirt that got thrown in the air, as I started focusing on these things, I became that I was there, and I'm having all these different perspectives all at once.
Yes.
So I'm totally can you imagine that? And that you're supposed to be doing a flight engineer job. Now all of a sudden you're like, what? What's going on? So right. This is not logical. I'm an engineer. This is not logical.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah.
So when it finally stopped, all of those outer experiences just pulled into me. And then I'm like, what was that? And I look at Lieutenant Duffy, and I know he didn't understand what I meant. I said, did you see that? I didn't know how to express it. I'm like, how do you explain that? Right after it happened. And I just wanted to know if somebody else saw it too. Did that happen to you? And he's like, yeah, but I know he didn't understand what I meant. He saw the incident, but he didn't see what I saw.
Got it.
And I didn't know how to express it at that point. So I just and then all of a sudden the fire trucks come up around us and catch up to us. And then we start focusing on our job, and we taxied and went to the airplane. Once we realized the airplane was okay, we actually added power and got up and on the rest of the runway that we weren't even supposed to be on. I started an engine out emergency landing on one runway and rolled out on an entirely different runway, used 2 runways to make one landing. Let's put it that way. I don't ever want to do that again.
No, breaking the rules there.
That's breaking the rules. Yeah. So we went to the hangar and taxied back, and I'm just trying to figure it out. I'm not talking to anybody yet. focused on just getting the plane put to bed and all of that and going home. And then the next day I'm on the flight schedule again. And my commanding officer, this is back in the 80s, right? So today, if you have an aircraft incident, they wouldn't do this. You would have, psychological evaluations and all kinds of stuff would happen before they let you back in the flight station. Back then, they didn't do that. They just put you in the saddle and see if you can ride.
Just suck up and do it.
So now we've got the skipper in my right seat. He's an instructor pilot. And I'm in the engineer seat, and my pilot that made the bad landing is in the other seat. And we're doing touch and goes that day with the skipper. And I never even didn't know any of this. I didn't know about PTSD or anxiety or anything after, So on our first approach, right after we made our takeoff, everything was fine the whole time doing that. But when we started to come into land, I start seeing the same view I saw the very day before, and I start panicking inside. And so the way the flight station's set up, my skipper's a little bit in front of me here and here, but I have to bend over and grab the power lever. So all he can see is the back of my head and shoulder, right? So typically I would sit up in the seat, and my job at that point would be to either add power or to wave off if there's an emergency or something like that. Each engineer's job is to set the power once they call for power setting. So rather than sit up so that the skipper could see my face and know I was not, I didn't have my head in the game because I was
panicking.
Right. I said, if he sees I'll never fly again, I knew that. So I leaned forward and I kept my head I just stayed down there for the first couple of takeoffs until I tucked myself into it. And I said, Woody, you've done this thousands of flights. You got to get your head back in the game and just do this. And so I overcame it in the middle of the flight, and I never had that problem again. So it worked for me, putting me back in the saddle. I'm not sure it would work anymore, but
wow.
But that was how that happened. And then 2 days later, that was a Tuesday. So the first flight happened when we departed the runway on a Monday. Tuesday was the refly. Wednesday, I'm at home in the evening, and this sounds unrelated, but I know whatever happened in the airplane opened the door somehow and finished it on Wednesday.
Okay.
We were watching televisions. My wife and 3-year-old who doesn't care about TV at 3, but he's watching with us. And there's a TV show called That's Incredible. It used to be on back then. And you can still find this particular episode on YouTube if you Google the words That's Incredible and the name Leslie Lemke, Lemke.
Oh my gosh, I'm familiar with the story, but go ahead.
So I was
strangely, I just okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so I knew I was seeing a miracle watching that show, and I was just grateful for that. And that night, I just said a simple prayer when I was in the bed. I wasn't even on my knees. I was just in my bed that night with the lights off with my head on the pillow. And I just said a simple prayer of gratitude for God showing me a miracle. Thank you for letting me see my first miracle. That's what I said. I didn't understand at the time that everything's a miracle, but that was what I thought at the time. And then I added the words, and Lord, it'd be nice if you could do something like that for me someday.
Now before we start, tell the viewers about this episode so they're familiar with it, what you're saying to Leslie Linsky.
Okay, this woman she adopted this baby boy, and she had a dream or a vision or something like that, where Jesus had come to her and told her to adopt this baby boy, and she would get an opportunity to adopt one of 3 babies, and she is to take the one that's blind. He was born blind. And that actually all happened. And so she did what she was expected to do. And now this is decades later, he's in his early 20s, and he's never had any cognitive skills beyond that of like, a few-day-old baby his whole life. She's always taken care of him, walked him everywhere, just like a big baby all his life. And one night she hears music downstairs in the middle of the night. And she goes downstairs thinking somebody left the radio on or the TV to turn it off. And here's Leslie sitting at the piano singing gospel music with a beautiful voice. And then they brought him out on the show, and he did that. And so I was just blown away. He had what I call a hauntingly holy voice that just
Yes.
moved me. And I was grateful for that. And so it was a simple prayer of gratitude that opened the door the rest of the way. And then I went to sleep. The next thing I know, I didn't pass through a tunnel. It was instantaneous shift in consciousness, just boom. Next thing I know, I'm in this dark void that I decades later learned is called the Great Silent Chamber. And as soon as I read that, I instantly understood what that meant, because the place I was in was, there was no sound whatsoever. And I don't know if you meditate, you probably do. A lot of people do. And if they think they've got a perfectly quiet room to meditate, right? It's all perfectly quiet. I'm meditating. It's perfectly quiet. No, it isn't.
Bad.
You can hear your heartbeat. You can hear your own breathing. You can hear something.
It's
not
true.
there, not in that room, not that great silent chamber.
Was it dark? Was it
No,
dark?
listen, that was the outer part of it. But I'm looking at the center where I'm seeing this liquid molten golden white sacred fire of God's immortal love pouring out in the throne room of creation in all directions. The light's hitting me, filling me up, and I'm being blasted with this. And I said, and that's unconditional love. It was infinite power. It was perfectly balanced, absolutely perfectly balanced, but with effortlessly balanced. Let's put it that way. Perfectly and effortlessly balanced. And infinite wisdom and intelligence, they're one and the same, because you can't have one without the other.
Yeah.
And infinite unconditional love.
Wow.
And so I was just blown away. I can't even think words. You can't comprehend anything. It's just overwhelms everything about the essence of my being. And I said 3 words. I said, oh my goodness. And the instant I said the word goodness, divine goodness blasted through me. And then it was peace, joy, ecstasy, harmony, all the good ones. It's just nothing negative, all positive, all on an infinite scale. And then I saw these hands, and I didn't care about them. I saw them, didn't know what they were, didn't care. I'm still looking at the light. All I want is to be in the light, go deeper in the light. That's all you want when you're there. There's this magnetic draw to the light that's automatic, and there's no concern for anything else. And so I'm being drawn. I see the hands, right? Don't care about them. But then the room starts peripheral vision.
Whose hands were they?
They were mine, not knowing that I had sat up in my bed.
This is all in your bedroom after the prayer.
My bed in the middle of the night, probably dark 30. We called it in the military, 3:30 in the morning, whatever it was. I'd sat up in my bed, and I had my arms out, not knowing this. And then as the room peripheral vision came in, I could see my wife, and I could tell that her back was to me by how her feet were positioned. And that light was at the end of the room coming in. Well, there was no wall. The ceiling and the wall was gone. It was like a 10-foot circle of God in my bedroom coming. There's like a billion stars lighting up the room. And I don't understand. I'm literally thinking that it's like a billion stars. How could she sleep through this? I remember. And that's when I realized this is real. This is really happening. And when God knew I knew, that's when the wall came back and the circle, not instantly, but it kind of closed down in a matter of 2 or 3 seconds and went away. And
I know it's sad when it leaves. It's in you, Tony. I've been talking to you this whole time. It lives in you. I know that's what it's about near-death experiencers. We get homesick every now and then. And I've seen that too. I called it a creation portal, but it was because I didn't want to scare people, but
creation.
Yeah, David Ditchfield drew it, and you're the only other person that's mentioned it. And that doesn't everybody's seen it, but I saw it too. But it was moving and it was powerful, and it was
the lotus petals. Remember the lotus petal look of the whole fans of this flowing out.
It was glowing, and it was like a huge, it was like, it looked like fire, and but not scary. And volcano, it was gold and it was
It
white
was the
light.
most infinitely graceful thing I've ever seen.
It was kind of like, the calming of a wave, but it was powerful like the ocean, but it wasn't that. And
It was
there's very few
extremely intimate
people.
too.
It was infinite, but I knew it was creation. I knew it was God. And that's what I saw when I came back. But I only met you, and David Ditchfield saw it. I'm not saying there's not others, but not everybody sees this, because I've talked to a lot of people. And what do you feel? Now I know that which we haven't talked about yet, but I know that we both read. Where's your little book? We both read the Saint Germaine I Am series. You
Yes,
like that too?
I am. It's Saint Germain series.
Yeah, amazing. Everyone, if you haven't listened to the I Am Saint Germain series that are channeled, it will get you high. It'll get you, high, like the most high, and you will just jam out with God and Jesus. I mean, it will really get you high. Just looking at the information. It's beautiful.
Books describe how all of this energy works, and
Yes.
and why we're in this situation we're in, and how to
Explain
get
that
out of it.
part.
Huh?
Explain that what you were saying earlier, and pardon me for that, but the sacred fire of the Saint Germain, explain to people that. That's beautiful.
Well, God's always sending us energy from God is perfect. It would manifest perfection if we just got out of the way. And these books teach how that works, and what our ultimate destiny is if we work it is to use the violet consuming flame, which is an action of God that can purify us and with the Christ light of Jesus. And so that's how it works. And Saint Germain is assisting Jesus in finishing his mission here. And all ascended masters are the best of friends and have the same mission, is to help us all. And so that's how it works. So Jesus is the man. He's the open door no man can shut, and he's the one that's showing us how to do that. And these books explain all of that in a way that I'd never seen before. But they describe that place I went to and you went to. They called it the Great Silent Chamber, and I instantly understood that. And then in one sentence, I was just telling this to my massage therapist back in 2018. She was 7 months pregnant, and I was really excited about these books because I found a phrase in there that described, I've been seeking for well over 30 years, answers to what happened to me. And I'd read a lot of stuff, and then I'm like, okay, part of this is man-made agenda. I'm not interested in that.
True.
I move on. But these books described everything exactly like I would remember when I was there. And I was telling Rosalind this. Now, she's 7 months pregnant with a baby boy. And I say to her, the book called The Light, the liquid, molten, golden, white, living light. The instant I said the word light to her, divine peace expanded from within my body. It lasted for several seconds, and all I could do is drop my head on the table. I was on my back already, and I had my head up looking at her, talking to her, and she's looking down at me. And all I could do was cry. And then when it went away, and it was expansion from within, it was like nothing I'd ever experienced before. But it's exactly what these books describe about what will happen if you follow these principles. And it did. And then when it finished, I looked up at her, and her eyes are her face is all wet. And I said, did you feel that? And she goes, uh-huh. And Noah did too. It went through her baby boy in her womb, and she knew it. And let me read to you what happened to us.
Yeah, that is so beautiful.
I got to find it real quick.
Okay.
Sorry for the delay.
That's okay. Well, Tony, you carry that light within you. Once you open that door, and it's really hard to close. Once you open that, people open through near death, Kundalini, different ways. It is
Yeah.
there. And now you can just talk about the light and others will feel it, because the same happens with me and other NDErs. I mean, if we start talking about the light, everybody watching would get high.
I know.
They might be high right now. I don't know.
So here's
Oh God.
that happened to us in 2018, right? This is 2000. Now it's July 9th, 2020. I had sent her some information and I couldn't find it because I got too many pictures on my phone. And I said, "Hi, Rosalind, do you remember that picture of a page of information I texted to you a long while back describing what happened to me, you, and Noah when the infinite power of divine peace blasted through all three of us the last time I got a massage from you? I've somehow lost it in my phone, and I'm hoping you can send it to me again. Please let me know if you're able to do that for me so I can try to find it elsewhere if necessary. I hope you're doing well, my eternal friend in the light. God bless you and your entire family." Before she could respond, I had found the picture and I sent it to her and said, "I found it." She responds back with a little heart emoji, and then underneath it responds with this: "I love this," another heart emoji. It says, "and it's so relevant for me now." She's acknowledging it happened to us.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Now, these books teach that if you follow these principles, they will prove themselves. And I gave them the opportunity, and they've been doing that repeatedly. And this is an example of it. So she says, "Me too." I said, "Me too. It's comforting to know we're watched over, and everything and everyone will be raised into that state of perfect peace we each had blasted through us 3 years ago. That moment we experienced is seared into my consciousness forever now. I'm pretty sure it did that to you too. God bless you and your family, Rosalind." She writes back, "God bless to you and your family as well, Tony. I'm grateful to know you." Heart, hand, the hands and the little heart emoji. So that's, power's real. God's real.
Oh, the power's real. So since we're on this topic, and I want to go back to your spiritual journey
Right.
and also your awakening. So I'm just curious. I mean, I have so much respect for you. I've seen, followed you through other people. And so not podcasts, but just you as a person through Eins and other people that I know that you know, and everybody always wonderful things to say about you. But what do you feel about, what do you think Jesus is? Who is Jesus to you? And how does he fit into all this? And then the Saint Germaine.
Well, his message was, I had to go through a lot here to finally understand what he meant when he said, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." It was more than, he was taking on all of their stuff and didn't want them to. We know what a life review is, right? So he said, "No, I don't want them to experience," this is what I believe. He didn't want them to experience in their life review his crucifixion and what he went through, because he loved them that much.
Yes.
That's what he meant. And that's why he's special. He's the one that figured that out.
Right.
And
the ones that killed him would experience what they're doing and who he was, the
he
Christ. And
wanted
they would, that would be
to
tough.
purify and clean so that they don't have any of that. And he just wants his brothers and sisters home with him. That's all he wants.
That's exactly what it was. He just wants your love, and for us to trust in him. He says often he wants to be our best friends. He says he'll never mislead us or never misguide us. And it makes me very sad, Tony, when I see people that I don't really have like a strong religious background. My grandmother loved Jesus, and she was, pretty, involved with the Presbyterian Church. But in the South, we also, that's a social thing. But I
grew up in East Texas, so I had the same.
Okay. But other than that, it was my experience in knowing him is from knowing him and knowing and having a spiritual connection, and also in my NDEs and in person. And it upsets me when people look at him and they're angry at him, or they have this strange dogmatic view when he is living, he is real. I mean, Christ consciousness. I mean, you could say that, I'd like to have a Christ consciousness, but my experience is that he's real. What do you feel about that?
He's very real. So is Saint Germaine. It's just it's another octave of existence.
Yes.
And that's tied to our consciousness and the purity of our consciousness. And these books explain how all that works. And it's more than that. It's what Jesus did on top of all of it. So it's
Yes. I feel
it takes time to learn and understand, but over time it comes. but you have to keep, if you never quit, you will never fail, and your victory becomes inevitable. So it's that simple.
Right.
Keep looking, keep seeking, never stop.
Yes, I agree. Keep seeking. And the thing is, I tell people, bring Jesus with you. If you do something and it's a little odd and maybe it's not your path, he'll let you know. Your team, your team God, they'll let you know, like, maybe not for you. Come on over here. So, you mentioned a word, and then
wait. Having the ability to recognize those moments sooner is a lot better than getting beat up.
Yeah, no kid. Discernment.
Not listening.
Yeah, you pray for discernment. Discernment means, not only hear, but also, okay, now what you're saying, no. Okay, now when they say no, I'm like, no, I'm listening. I don't want to have to go through all that. There's an easier way. I hope you enjoyed this segment, and make sure that you watch his other episodes, Tony Woody's, where he talks about his NDE and his spiritual progress and things that he's learned along the way, and how we all need to have more love in our lives. Thanks for watching. Make sure that you share and make comments and like, and consider being a channel member. Much love to you. Bye-bye. Please subscribe, like, and make comments, and support this channel by becoming a member. Thank you for your continued support.